What is a perfect game? It's easy to say there aren't any, that nothing is perfect and there's always room for improvement. That may be so, but then why do so many reviewers reward games with perfect scores? You could say it's because review scores are silly, but I think it's something else. When a game flawlessly executes on its vision, on what it sets out to do, that's when it's perfect, even if the individual elements are not. Inkle Studios' 80 Days doesn't suffer from imperfect components. It's such a finely tuned machine of a game that even on a microscopic level, it's a perfect experience. It's so well constructed it's hard to know even where to begin talking about it. Do you start with how it's based on a classic literary work, or do you ignore it because it surpasses its source material? Maybe start by saying that it's a visual novel, but that it so thoroughly innovates the genre it's practically in a league of its own. Perhaps the only place to really start is with the enthralling writing, emphasis on player choice that actually matters, or the way the game perfectly marries story and gameplay. Well, let's find the starting point together, shall we? The one thing that is absolutely certain is that you can't talk about 80 Days without mentioning its story, or maybe its gameplay for that matter. It's hard to separate the two, as Inkle Studios has done a phenomenal job of weaving together the story and gameplay in a way that not many games have done before, at least not to this degree. We can all agree that games like The Last of Us or The Walking Dead Season 1 have great writing, but even in those games, the gameplay and story always seems to exist on separate planes. But in 80 Days, that's not the case. The story is integral to the gameplay and vice versa. A lot of that has to do with the writing, which itself is some of the best in gaming. Every word in this game is like liquid velvet being poured directly into your eyeballs by a lusty Argonian maid wearing sexy clothes or something, I don't know. As you can see, 80 Days is a bit of a visual novel, loosely based on the Jules Verne book Around the World in 80 Days. For you scabs who can't enjoy classic literature, or maybe if you just haven't read the book, you play as Passepartout, a French butler living in England who just got a job working for Phileas Fogg, a mysterious and wealthy English gentleman. On Passepartout's first day, Fogg made a bet with other members of his exclusive club, the Reform Club, that he could travel all the way around the world in 80 days or less. See, the thing is, it's the year 1872, and there are no airplanes to just hop aboard. But that's not to say the game follows history to the T. Welcome to alternate history, indeed an alternate reality, where there are robots everywhere, rocket ships that can get you halfway around the globe in a matter of hours, and fictional characters from Verne's other books like Captain Nemo. The key difference between this game and the book is that you get to decide what route to take, rather than following the one laid out in the novel, though you certainly could do that if you wish. The game is light on visuals. There's only the world in the background, a plain white line showing your path, white dots representing cities, and 2D cutouts of characters, vehicles, and items that you have to buy and sell. Almost everything about the world, the characters, and your journey is conveyed through text, but it doesn't feel like a standard visual novel or text adventure. It's so engrossing, it's as if you were actually there in the world, making terrible decisions and blowing all your money. And money is vitally important. Just because Fogg has seemingly endless reserves of cash to draw on doesn't mean you'll be able to partake in this journey willy-nilly. You start out with a set dollar amount and you have to buy and sell goods in different cities to earn money to keep you going. If you're desperate and the city you're currently in has a bank, you can have Fogg wire some money over to you, but this will cost you precious days. And if you're really desperate, you can beg on the streets for cash. That's one of the things that makes this game so fascinating. You could travel wherever you want to and spend all your money like an idiot however you want, sure, but the key is going to markets and buying and selling items in other cities. The items you buy, or don't, will dictate what route you take and how your story will play out. Say you bought a pipe in Brussels that's worth $10 in Munich, but $150 in Berlin. So you bypass Munich and go straight to Berlin to sell that pipe. There you find a vase that's worth $1,200 in Sofia, but while you were in Paris, you bought a Fabergé egg worth $1,000 in Stockholm. If you go to Sofia, then you're probably going to be drawn south through the Ottoman Empire in the Middle East, but if you go to Stockholm, your journey will take you through Russia, and in both places you're going to encounter wildly different stories. I've never played a game like this before. Yeah, I've played visual novels and text adventures, but they always felt more like novels than games to me. I never felt like they merged gaming and reading together particularly well, but 80 Days solves that problem. It doesn't just throw a bunch of text at you with static images of characters completely divorced of the plot. Instead, you can physically see the journey you're taking by the progress you make around the globe, and the way you travel and the cities you stop in. You see the characters you talk to, the items that you can buy and sell, and you can pull back and look at the globe to best plan your route, or at least try and plan it, and also look at the path you've already taken. See, that's the thing. It seamlessly blends together the text and the visuals to create its world, and fully immerses you in it, making you feel like you're there. And it does a better job of that than any game I've ever played before. What makes 80 Days stand out from other story-based games like this are the divergent, separate stories. There's the main goal of traveling around the world in the allotted time, sure, but you also encounter different stories in every city you visit. In smaller towns, it might just be an art show that you can attend, but in larger cities, there could be a full-scale armed conflict that you can get involved with, and those decisions you make will have impacts on future cities that you visit. Others might present you with mysterious allies, lovers, or even enemies. And I won't spoil anything, but if you've read the book, then yes, a certain subplot about Phileas Fogg does indeed show up. How far you go down that path is entirely up to you. Here's a quick summary of one of my playthroughs, just to give you an idea. It was entirely unique compared to all my others. I met Captain Nemo, saw a man hanged and was unable to stop it, participated in a revolution in Venice, stumbled my way into leading a mutiny on a ship in the middle of the Pacific, stopped a train robbery, and arrived in Porto Novo, Africa, where I had to beg for 2 weeks on the street to afford a ticket out of town. That represents just a fraction of what you can do, and each of those storylines all have different outcomes as well, depending on your choices. You don't even have to try and go around the world in 80 days, you could instead just try and visit every city in a single playthrough, spending thousands of days doing whatever you want. In fact, I'd recommend taking your time in your first and even second playthroughs just to experience the story and get a feel for the best strategies. I've played through this game 3 or 4 times now, and I have yet to make it around the world in time. The closest I came was 91 days, but it was that 2-week begging tour in Africa near the end that screwed me over. Well, it could have been worse. Either Fogg or even myself could have died. Oh yeah, that's a possibility too. I mean, past part 2, not myself, you know what I mean. But you know what? I shouldn't spoil too much. This may not be a mystery game in the traditional sense, but a lot of the fun comes from exploring and finding stories in far-flung towns in the middle of nowhere you may have never even heard of before, getting lost in interesting stories and characters. That is where the perfection lies. It begins as a race around the world, but even if you lose, you still feel like you won. If you enjoyed this video, why not consider supporting Cliqist on Patreon for more content just like this. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.